Heel blij met deze fijne opkomst en ja, een hele eer om hier een paar weken voordat de Biennale van Venetië begint en Dirk's tentoonstelling in het Belgisch Pavilion van start gaan, hier al aanwezig te kunnen zijn op de beurs. Wij gaan deze namiddag een beetje inzoomen op Dirk zijn werk en op de evolutie van zijn oeuvre en ook een beetje praten over die tentoonstelling van op de Biennale die er binnen enkele weken aankomt. Dit gesprek zal in het Engels zijn, dus ik ga nu overschakelen op het Engels, omdat we toch ook wel een heel internationaal publiek hier hebben. Welcome everybody here this afternoon. This talk will be in English. Dirk and me will zoom in on his practice and about our project for the Belgian Pavilion in Venice, which will open in 3 weeks. We're really happy that we could be present here at this art fair and with this nice turnout of the audience, and also with this booth by Stibbe here on Art Brussels, where we could have a kind of short sneak preview on Dirk's practice with the works here on view. We will talk about 40 minutes or so on his work, on his practice, and then open the floor to questions you all might have. There are some images that are shown here to give you an introduction, to zoom into Dirk's work. We won't talk about every specific image, or our talk will be just parallel to these images, but they will give you a view. They're all organized in a chronological way, from the oldest works into the more recent trajectories. Also, really welcome to Dirk in full preparation mode for the exhibition. Having some time here to stop and to zoom in and to share what we're working on with the audience. I would like to open with a really basic question, which is how did you start your practice, or what were the first impulses you got at a very young age of what art was, that you wanted to become an artist, that you wanted to create images? Where are the very, very first seeds of what you are doing now?
Then I have to go very long back, because normally I start with those stories about when I was 12, 14, but there happened something before already. My parents are not at all interested in culture or art. They are very more in sports and in business. So, but we were on vacation in south of France. There was a big show of Dali, Salvador Dali. And we saw the posters in the city. And I said, maybe we can go to there, because the poster was very, the work of Dali is very attractive, it's surrealistic, so they were interested to see that, and they took me with them, and I was then 6 years old. So this was the very first impulse I was very wondered about. I never saw an art piece in real. And suddenly I saw a whole show of a surrealistic painter, Dali, as it is for a child, and not only for a child, but when you are 6 and you see Dali, it's a world who goes open. So that's actually the very first impulse I had. But from then until I was 14, I was not really busy with those things. But after I finished my
High school?
No, before. When I started high school, I came in contact with several people who were busy with art, like collectors, friends of my parents who were collecting. And through them, I came in contact with other artists, not only painters, but also theater makers, filmmakers, writers, and I was obsessed, suddenly. But
By what aspect were you obsessed?
I don't know, it was new world for me. It was maybe kind of a revolt I had against. I had always a very good relation with my parents, but as a young man, I needed to have a kind of to revolt to my parents and to do my own thing. And there I saw, in this environment, I saw a kind of way. And I liked those people because they were different, I thought. Of course, they are same. But at this time, for me, they were different and they were heroes. So I was also assistant with many artists, but mostly painters. And like I said, I had many contact with musicians. I am influenced very much by music. So as a photographer, you can say which photography are you influenced by, but actually it's even behind the art who influenced me, also life, also everything is an influence to me.
And then you were 16, 17, you decided I want to go to art school?
Yes, I had this time my very best friend, he was a painter, he was already in the art school, same age, but he was in the middelbare.
High school?
High school already, and he was a talent. And we were talking a lot about art, we were going to shows too. So at that point, and I was really sure I want to go in this direction, but I had no tool already. And he started me to learn painting, to make also drawings. And those were my first steps. And then it happened, it's very dramatic. He died at 18. And so it was very shock for me. And then I was more convinced to go in art because I had a mission to bring over our friendship and our conversation in real. And then I asked to my parents to go to the Academy of Arts in Ghent to follow the painting lessons. But there was one of my friends who said, "Did you ever made a photograph? Are you busy with photography also?" I said, "No, I never touched the camera." So he said, maybe it's important to do that first, maybe a few months, maybe a year. And that was actually a good idea because in that time there were many painters who came up, like, of course, the most evident example is Richter, who started also from photography, and that's why he said maybe it's good you start first with photography, and you can take it in your practice later when you're painting. So I'm still a photographer. I'm still busy with photography.
So it's 35 years ago?
Yes,
like that? Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start this photography course, and then you learn what becomes your kind of signature style, making prints in the darkroom.
For me it was magic, because the darkroom, I didn't knew that. For me it was all new. I remember my teacher said, now we have a very blank paper to work with. So I had no experience with photography. I started from zero. So, and everything was for me like magic, and also, of course, the darkroom. And my first very thing where I was very impressed over, you can see in the dark, right? I thought it was completely dark, but that was a point I was interested in. You have a certain light you can use in the darkroom, and you can see what you're doing. And that I remember that was also something who influenced me what I'm doing now. So, and yes, in the time of the academy, already I was busy with mostly black and white, because in the first 2 years in that time, it's only black and white you can do. And from the third year, I don't know why, but from the third year you can study color photography. So I started really to learn how to handle the black and white, to photograph first, to develop the films, to print it in the darkroom. So those are my first steps, and it's still my tool. That's why I'm still using it. It's not a kind of nostalgic reflection I have to use analog photography now. No, it's my tool. When I grew up with that, I made my oeuvre with this kind of tool. So I'm also a teacher, and sometimes my students are asking me to learn them how to work analog, because the quality is, I don't say better, it's different. It's a different kind of working. And maybe they do it more as a kind of nostalgic reflection. But no problem. I'd like to learn them, of course, yes.
And then you manage these techniques, and then while experimenting with them, I guess you find your kind of a way to make it your own, to create not a photographic reproduction of the world, but to make...
No, because I was always thinking in terms I would become a painter. So that's why, and I tell you one anecdote. Once I did a job in my studies for to replace somebody in the Morgen, the journal, to do journalistic photography, I think. Yeah. So, and I was always with the journalist, and sometimes he had to push me to do my picture. He said, "You are the photographer, you have to make a picture." So I was too involved in the situation, in the experience of the situation, that I forgot to photograph. So I thought that's not for me. Then I was also sure I have to evaluate to a certain kind of way of working, to not to document the reality, but more the subject became more myself. It's not autobiographic, but even I started with the maybe it's
Misschien moet je het losleggen. Of in je binnenzak steken, of ik weet niet.
okay. Good job. Yeah, hello? Hoor het? You here? Yeah. So, tell me, I was where?
That you're not documenting, but yeah.
No, it was,
Yeah.
that was the proof. I'm not made for those things.
Yeah.
So I was experimenting a lot with, in my darkroom, at a small darkroom at home. I was experimenting also with the picture, to make the picture, and I was kind of shy, so I even now I don't dare to put the camera out. You never see me with the camera. When I'm shooting, mostly I'm alone or with a small group of people. But I'm never shooting with a lot of people around me, because I think then I'm a kind of, it's my feeling, kind of voyeur. And now you can say, but your pictures looks like it's very voyeuristic, but that's another way of, it's more intimistic than making a shooting from a situation somewhere in the street, for example.
That's the images we see now are one of the more from the 90s early pictures you make. Maybe you can tell about what you decide to capture in the image, the what is shown. This.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I don't want to look for the right thing, look for the right place, look for the right time. I never go, for example, I never travel to make pictures, I travel to travel, and then I make pictures. So I'm not looking, I'm using mostly the things around my very short environment. That's why some people are thinking it's more autobiographic, but it's not really like that. It's more a kind of autobiographic character. But it's not that I want to document my life. That's not my idea, but it's all the things I'm taking pictures of. It's very close around me. So I never go somewhere. I never go to a situation or to a happening or to a place to make a document. No, most things on my picture are kind of alibis from my direct environment I use to bring it in my practice and then to make the definitive picture. Then the picture exists because it's also because I don't give a date or on the shooting. I don't give a title, but the date is made when I printed the picture.
In the darkroom, yeah.
Because then the picture exists. It doesn't exist when the negative is there.
In the subjects you show, you of course they're parts of reality, but you leave out a lot. You never see the eyes, you see a fraction, see the full space. They become like kind of interchangeable or anonymous. This is the quality
actually I'm trying to stretch time. When you see, for example, like you said, the eyes in a portrait, you see it, you get it, and it's
over. Yeah.
It's over. But and that's an example. But like those kind of things, like the right moment, like for example, Cartier-Bresson, it's fantastic. I adore him, but he's working on the right moment in 1,000th of a second, approximately. I'm working more in long time. Not that my exposure is taking a long time, but I have to stay for a long time on the same place or in the same in the space before I take my camera and do the picture. Sometimes it takes weeks. I can't go somewhere and take my camera and do the picture immediately. It's impossible.
And
I have to absorb all things around me, and then I can take my camera and make the picture.
Yeah. So then you make pictures. They're like this pellicule film. They were developed. They go into your archive, and then at a certain moment you decide to take some of these negatives to go into your darkroom, and then the real work, the image is getting made, which we see here. These are images that are, of course, from shots of reality, but they are mostly made in the darkroom.
Yes, like I said before, the image is made in darkroom, but you can't make a good image with an uninterested or a bad negative. It goes together. It's one movement. But sometimes I'm choosing for a negative who exists already 20 years. Sometimes, and I do that mostly when I have new negatives. I let them sometimes for years without touching them. And then I come back to them at that moment I can make the right decision, the right choice without having a certain emotion, connection with the moment of the shooting.
Did you sometimes forget where this image was taken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many people are asking where is it. I say I don't know. They think I'm joking, but it's real. Yeah. I'm looking at the form, and I come in my darkroom. I'm looking in my archives, and then I decide which one I
You judge
want.
on the composition. Yeah.
And that's also a kind of link with my history of paintings. Like painters are taking also an archive with them in their studio, and then they're choosing, and then they make an interpretation. So I'm collecting also in a negative kind of archive where I can grab, let's say, and then at this moment I decide which one I will take to print.
What happens then in this dark room with chemicals, brushes, dust? There are lots of. How is it like a painter you're covering, or is it sometimes just?
It's photography, but in the 80s, I decided to build a huge kind of space here, darkroom, so I can, with the huge ventilation, so I could stay a long time in it. I could move, I could do experiments. It's more like, I can say, it's more like a performance than really a technical thing. It's more
physical.
Physical, yeah. That's why I need also the large scale prints before I start with the small print. But I missed something. I missed something physical, not only for myself, but also when the images are in a space, they need some format to have a kind of physical relation. That's why I don't show them behind the glass. They are naked. The tactility is very important, the surface. So those things gives to the viewer also a certain physical approach.
Now you often make then many prints from the same negative. You experiment with the image.
That's how I started, but I came back to those things. I started in the very first things I did in the darkroom. I was really doing against our rules. I never was reading a manual, also not from a camera. It was like always doing it and doing it not on the right way, just to see what happens. And so in that kind of way, I built my écriture, my signature.
Yeah, this working in series is then, now recently you often present them together. Maybe we can jump to the work which is on view here, which is also a series, but these are from different negatives.
Yes, and that's, honestly, that's also a typical work in the sense of format and surface. Like I said, I'm collecting a lot of images, mostly from negatives from myself, but I'm also collecting old images. Those are, the origins are old pornographic pictures, and I took details from it, but with the shadow of my camera to cover it. It's kind of answer to pornography, because pornography is very
showing,
and I'm hiding the, also because of the frame, but also because of the shadow. And that's how this series, and the name of the series, I don't give mostly names, but it's Sisyphus, because you can grab it. You always try to grab it, but it falls out of your eyes, out of your hand. And that's why I called it, I made it also for a show who was named Sisyphus.
Here you clearly feel the fragility of the paper. The material aspect is really important to it. And why this presentation? Why? How do you decide about size? It's often huge. This is kind of more intimate.
Yes, yes. I tried to print those on big, but they became too blow up. So I decided to print them like approximately the same size of the magazine. So that kind of size, a little bit bigger than a magazine. So it's more correct. Otherwise, it's too much blow up. And you can see it also in one work, in one series, and because of the shadow is changing, you have a kind of film, cinematographic feeling. The shadow who changed all time. And even I made a book from this series, and when you do like that, it's kind of the shadow who's moving. So it's also about time, about a very small interruption of time. Yeah.
Yeah, with this work you talk about it's showing, hiding. If we see all these images, they're often the same subjects coming back. I would like to dive in a bit about what the subject of your work is.
Yeah, that
what
I
you
said
see
before,
or what it means, how it's related to each other.
It's more a kind of alibi. Those stories, and those stories are all
your
things.
Subjects are the alibi. Yeah.
Yes.
It's what you see. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are all things that's more my bias where I live in. So of course, when you live in small spaces, there are many curtains or beds or so, but those are kind of alibis. But there is a story, and the story is very important to make the picture, but not for the viewer. When I tell the story behind those pictures, it becomes too anecdotic. I did it one time, the first work I sold to a collector. I was delivering the work, and he asked me, tell me what happens in this picture. I told the story, and he said, oh, that's a pity. Now I'm looking always with this story in my mind. So from this moment, I never tell stories anymore. It's an image, and it's everybody who's looking to one picture is a story on himself. He makes the story. And you can say that from every art, but because I'm hiding a lot, it's dark, it's not so much things you can see. There are many curtains who covers things, who hides things. So the suggestion is very important. And that's my goal. I don't want to tell my story or stories. It's the image who is important. And then the story who has the viewer in it. Some people are telling me stories who inspires me, who are not there, but that inspires me. Because they have their story seen in this picture.
So would you then say that your work is about reflecting on seeing, not seeing, what an image can be or can suggest?
Of course, I was always questioning the medium photography. What means photography? What can you do? What are the limits? So from this point, I evaluated into showing more to not showing. So, and it was very quick. I saw people were reacting another way because they become kind of timeless. You can't see where it is, you can't see when it is. There are no text in the picture mostly. I don't think, sometimes here and there, but you don't have any reference from place and space, location. When you look at it, can be in, say, in Ghent, it can be in Los Angeles, but
anyway, yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, they are about slowness, about watching, seeing, not seeing. in this continuum, you say, in a way they're really different than the images we have daily around us, and they could be, but they're not a reflection on that, or implicitly.
I don't know. It's not last 2 decennia. We are overwhelmed by social media, by press, by everything, television, with images, mostly images. So I was already busy with those kind of before this revolution. So the work was already an answer to those things, because before social media and digital things, it was also like that there was many of information, and it was a kind of course, a kind of reaction, but now it's more.
Can be more read like that.
Yes,
yes. Yeah.
But I'm not reacting like I have to be against or no.
Yeah.
It's in the work. I'm lucky.
Yeah. Let's maybe jump to the great option, or the project coming up of the Belgian Pavilion in Venice, where we were last July were lucky to got chosen to present Belgium there and have a show in that pavilion. We have seen some images of that passing here, of the installation there. But one of the first things that I remember was that you said that this was really your dream exhibition space and a dream, since
honestly,
many years.
It was a kind of silent dream. Every time I came there, I said, that's the right space to show my work. Not because of the Biennial, of course, also, but mostly about the space when I came in. When I say it in another way, when they should let me choose a pavilion in the Giardini, I should take the Belgian one. Yeah. Because of the scale, the light, the architecture is made for my work, I think. So, but now we are busy. I discovered it's not so evident than it looks like, because it looks like a very simple white cube with 4, 6 white cubes, I guess, and that looks simple, but it's not so simple than I thought, because when you come in, you have the views through the other spaces, so it plays together, and that's not so evident to make the right installation. I thought I come there with my work and I hang it, it'll be like, okay, but it's not like that.
Yeah. No, it's a unique moment. This Venice Biennial, it has like 500,000 visitors every year. Many people will discover and rediscover your work. And we talked a lot about what kind of show to make there, to go only with new works, to go retrospective, what image, or what way to present your work there.
Yeah. When I heard that we were selected to present Belgium on Biennial, first thing I'm thinking what I have to do. I have to do something special, something exceptional, something spectacular. That's the first reflex, but little by little you return to your own. It's the only thing you can do, and you just have to continue your work and to make a good show. It's not because it's the Biennale, it's a very big honor, a very special moment for me, but you can't do something special, it's always special. Even in the smallest gallery or space, it's also, it has to be always. It's not because of the number of people are coming. I don't say it's not important, because a lot of people will discover my work there in real for the first time. But it's not my goal to say, okay, there are 300 shows, maybe 300 artists approximately. What I have to do to jump out from the rest. the only thing I can do is stay myself, to be myself, because my work looks like very silent and very introvert, and it's also like that, but at the same time, the spectacle is in the image, and you can say, which spectacle? It is chair, it's a
curtain.
A curtain. So that's why. Then begins the questions, and then begins the spectacle in the viewer. That's important. Of course, you need to attract people. I don't go there to show, and of course I want as many people to show my work, but I don't gonna compromise myself to attract them inside. Mm-hmm. But in my oeuvre there are some images who are better placed to hang at first place to attract people inside. And that's not a compromise, it's just a part of my work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've done 2-3 shows together in the last 15 years, and the installation of a show is really important for you. There are artists that know exactly by number where to hang what, or where it's really easy. For you, it's really an exciting struggle, I would say, to find the right combinations, how the images could work so that they create an open dialogue, that they're not commenting on each other, and they're not,
and for me it's a very important part of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's not only making the image, making the print, but also how to show them. That's why I don't make so many books, because it's very difficult to show it in a book or on a screen. I try to avoid it. Of course I made books, but it's so important to see the installation with all art, but in a sense, photography is reading another way. When you see it on a screen, when you see it in a book, when you see a painting printed or on a screen, automatically you make the reflex is big, or it has a structure, or it is different. When you see a photograph in a book or on a screen, you don't have this reflex. Mm-hmm. You see it like only the image on this size, on this surface. Another example, I see it also in discussion forums about my work. It happens that I look at that. Mm-hmm. So about some people, what's the point? A curtain, a chair, a bed, it's nothing. Same people, weeks after said, now we get it. We went to a show. We saw how it's in real. You really need to see it in real. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's every time with art. Mm-hmm. Artists now, people are looking too much at art on the screen and in books, but mostly very quick on the internet. But then, when you experience it in real, it's so different. And I mean, with my work, it's a step further, because those are photographs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even more so with photography, which you see on paper all over, all the time. Yeah. So in Venice, we will show many works there, and mostly they're new things, not in a spectacular way, but you're a kind of selection of many new works. And at a certain point, we did consider including some older works.
The first idea was showing only new works, but to give a certain context from the past and to see the evolution. We decided to show also some older works, to have a context in time from the evolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You say to show the evolution. As yeah, it's hard for some people, I think, to see the evolution because you don't work in teams, in series. You stay very close to your way of working, which you started 30 years ago.
Yes, but
how
there
does it
is
also,
an evolution
yeah.
in it, but most people are looking sometimes very formal. They see black and white, they see many dark, big, matte, and those are the parameters who stays always. But in the image for me, although, there is such a big evolution. And now your next question will be which one? It's more and more like a kind of experience you have with the image. Before it was like more and more, still more a document of a situation I took in my practice to work with. Now it's more, of course the shooting is still important, but it's more and more in my practice who that the picture is made. And that's the evolution. But I'm very slow, so it's in very slow steps. And the proof is that there is an evolution, is that every day I do it more and more with
With pleasure.
With pleasure, yes. It's not like repeating or no. I'm not finished already with those tools, with those parameters. It's still a long way to go. I'm sure. So that's why I'm still using. How more I use it, how more I know there are no limits in there, and that gives me kind of freedom to go on. So, you know, painters who are working for a whole life on the still on the same still lifes, for example, like Morandi.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
Yeah. A question we recently more got was, what is your work, or is there something that could be link you with other artists? And
when you see it in history, yes. When you see it now, maybe also, but I don't see it yet. But in history, you can talk about links. Like there is a word, everybody is using that to explain a little bit the link between Belgian art is huis clos. De beslotenheid, dus
yeah.
huis clos.
Enclosedness, yeah.
Enclosedness, so it's the more like the fantasy is more important than reality, because most people, many Belgian artists are working at their desk or in small spaces, but there they made completely other world. That's sounds like surrealistic, but that's also the origin of our one of our common things.
Yeah, the references you make, like Morandi, Dali, or they're mostly paint.
Dali is.
No. I mean, yeah, it's all painting. So you see yourself more into this art history painting tradition.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's not up to me.
Yeah,
that's up to historians to say he's more an artist and he's more painter than photographer. I don't know. Literally, I'm photographer. I'm using photography. But at the other way, I don't do jobs in photography. I more do like mostly my own work. And in that way, I'm more artist. But it's very hard to say that from yourself, I'm that of that. No, that's an open thing, I leave it on the history. Yeah.
What for me is a difference between many other photographers and how you use the medium is that in your work there's also a reflection on the medium of photography. Like you often use the flash reflection you see in the image, the going, making things more visible or not. So it's
yeah, like I said, I'm looking at the limits from the medium. I don't use it in the middle. I use it only on the limits. And that's maybe interesting. I'm talking that when I'm shooting, I don't look right, I look to the borders. That makes the picture, that makes the frame, that makes the composition. I don't manipulate the reality.
Yeah.
I don't change. The only thing I choose is the frame, and there the picture is made. And I'm looking more at the borders than in the center, because there it's as important as the center.
Yeah, well, most pictures would focus on what's in the middle.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. There's many more subjects we can address, like sometimes your use of color or many other things, but maybe I want to look at people in the audience, if they have suggestions, questions for Dirk.
You emphasized the importance of the work in the dark room. Creation. Sorry. Thank you. You emphasized the importance of the work in the dark room, the fact that there the image is created. And my question was, how do you deal with the control or the lack of control that you have when you are creating the image? Or in other words, to what extent do you deal with the element luck that, or chance that comes into play?
Very important. Very important. That's maybe we didn't have. We were talking about, but that's also why I'm using analog photography. When you shooting digital, you see immediately what you're doing. When you're shooting analog, it's an adventure. It's kind of adventure, but that's kind of answer to you. I don't know, when I don't see the picture already. When you're shooting digital, you can even manipulate it directly on the camera. But analog is a kind of building, it's a story, it's one movement from shooting to developing films to print, and of course to coincidence.
Accidents, or
Accidents
so coincidence,
always, but then it's the art to let them in, to show them, or to use them, even to provoke them. Then, it's a very important fact. Also, the imperfection from those things is very important. It makes it human.
But I would say, like, after 30 years working with accidents and coincidence, how much is there still?
Still, still there is.
But you can control accidents more.
Yeah, that's what I say. I can provocate it. And know how my camera will react to certain things, light, and know how certain chemicals will react on this paper, but you can't control it like you control a digital image on screen. You do it very exactly. You print 10 times on the button and you have 10 times the same print. So that's also the organic factor in my work. That's also, I think, an answer to your question.
There's another question in the back.
Dirk, a few months ago, I asked James Welling what may be theoretical difference between photography and art. And he gave a short answer. I'm interested in your answer on this. And when I'm on an art fair, I see a lot of photography. I see no much art. You understand?
Sure, I'm thinking. Yeah, that's a question we can talk about for hours. First of all, when I say something in one sentence, it's hard, it's too dangerous. But I think there are for me, two groups of photographers. Photographers who are coming out from photography and build them a kind of oeuvre as an artist, or you have artists who takes photography for their medium. So those are already two things. But like I said, we can discuss that for hours in this issue. Maybe we have to make another meeting for that, and we will do that, I think, in the period of the Biennial, more and more, on this kind of subject. When turns it to art, and when stays it to simple to photography.
And what was James Welling's answer?
Well, that's what I wanted to tell you. Working on, working on, working on.
Yeah.
That was all. Working on.
And that's what I said, like, I never read a manual, I never followed the rules, technical, but just doing all the time.
Another question?
Hi, I'm actually curious about your way of selecting photos. You have an archive which must be huge, and do you select with a kind of apathy, like you only try to look at the visual qualities, the aesthetic qualities, or is the emotional part also a valuable part?
Of course, but like I said before, sometimes I leave the negative for years. Besides, I don't touch them just to avoid this emotional preference. But then you have you have the emotion of the shooting, because when a painter is painting, it's in one movement mostly. It's one space he's in. But as photographer, you have different steps, like the step of the shooting, and then the emotion to make the image in the darkroom. Those are two different things, two important things. So for me is the choice of the negative that I paint, that they are not too loaded with emotions. That, of course, for me it is, and I put this emotion then in the manner of printing, how I put them on the paper. That's, I don't know if...
So it's mostly on the formal qualities. When you go to your archive, that you see, this can be something that I can work with in the darkroom. Or the atmosphere that comes out without being too emotional.
Yeah, but I think when you see the selection of the negative I used, and you see the negative before and after, why I'm choosing this one, it's very clear. The other ones are telling too much the story, and this one is the right one who tells the atmosphere, who tells a long story, maybe an endless story. Yeah.
Another question?
Do you have negatives that you made up image from, printed, 20, 25 years ago, and the same negative now? Does that exist in your oeuvre?
You mean by coincidence that there's two images alike?
Yeah.
It's also emotional, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens, of course, but it's not always the same, it's impossible. But the subject and the way of can be the same, yeah? But now you're asking me that, sometimes I rephotograph my own work, where I'm working where I'm doing a new print.
You
That happens
You
also.
make a new negative of a print that you made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
To have a certain distance again, and to take the image again for the second time in my practice, and to do a different
To
thing
reflect
with
more
it.
on it, yeah. It's similar like you re-photograph existing posters, paintings, images by
Also.
others. Yeah.
Yes. I take a kind of distance from it, and I photograph it like it's not mine. It's yeah.
This you also do with your own, yeah.
Yeah.
How big is your negative archive, you know?
I have no idea, but not so big than you think,
and
because I don't photograph so much. I'm not the kind of photographer who's always busy with shooting. No, I use it when I need it. I use it when I feel I need to shoot. But there are sometimes weeks, months I don't shoot. But I'm always busy with my work, or in the darkroom, or shooting, or both. But sometimes I'm not coming in dark room for months, and I'm traveling and photographing. So that's a privilege. It's very, I can make my choice. Now I go to photo, to shoot, or
I
go
go
in
to print.
darkroom.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah.
yeah.
What struck me when we were making the book, where there will be a new publication with the Biennial, that we also included some negatives that are not works yet, or that are
Yes,
pre-selected.
yes.
Can you tell about this, the status of these images?
Why I'm doing that? Because they exist then in book as work, as image. They don't. For me, it doesn't exist as negative. As long as you don't have a print, but a print in the book is also a print. Of course, it's not it's not
Analog print on the-
analog photography. It's also printed. It now exists. It's visual. So I see it like that. But then, when it first exists in the book, then I take the freedom to make it also, yes or not, in the darkroom. Yeah. It's kind of, yeah.
There's another question.
Yeah. I don't know if this is working. It's off. No, whoa, it is. Okay. Well, thank you very much for this talk to both of you. I have a question about work that I saw today at Wheels
Yes.
by you. I think the title was DDRR or is repeated or something from 2011. It seemed to have a political content, but very enigmatic at the same time, because if I understood it, it had to do somehow with the German
right.
wall. But what I wanted to really, what my question would be, how much does history and events from history or places from history, do they ever appear in the oeuvre, or is it always tangent in the way, for example, with the work at Wheels?
It's very important, but not for the view. It's important to make it. Like this example in Wheels, it's now in a certain context. You can read it like that, and of course, when you see kind of border in
Yeah, fence. Dit is barbed wire. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, you have those are one of the works who had the most loaded political and. But as a person, I'm very, very busy with politics. It's very personal, but I don't want to put it like a pamphlet thing in my work. Never. It's not to me to use my work to have a pamphlet, but it's very important that I'm informed what happens in the world, what happens around me to make my work. And sometimes you can recognize things like, for example, this picture, who are more political than other ones. But those are very few.
I have a question about color, the use of color. In which circumstances do you choose to use color frames?
Yeah, there are different reasons, but there is one big reason. I told in the beginning that my first thing I did in photography was black and white. So I started with that. I feel it as my tool. Also, in that time when you did color, you couldn't see what you're doing because then it was totally black. So it was a first practical thing, but after a while I saw it's also another medium to look in black and white, to look at the world in black and white, to transform a visual to think it in black. It's another reality experience. It's another of course it's more subjective, and that's also the reason why but the first reason actually is it's my tool, it's my signature.
But still, you choose sometimes to use.
Yes. Yes, but that's from the point I start to use digital. I never said I don't use digital photography. Mostly I'm busy in the darkroom and analog, but I'm not avoiding digital. Even I use it, and sometimes I make a negative from the document, the digital document that I use also in the darkroom. It happens so, but sometimes the color gives it more value. When it's the inverse, I change to black and white. But when I see it gives more value when it's not really a kind of how do you say it? Copy of my black and whites, but then in color. Then why not? So I don't work in those things like systematically. So that I say only black and white, only that or that.
It's like this.
It's like an open thing. I leave it open like that. And sometimes when I'm shooting digital, what I'm doing also, and I see the color, it has a certain value to add to give the image more character, then I leave it in color. But I don't print myself. Those things, that's also a reason why I mostly work in black and white. So it's also practical, but it's fun. I think when you look at my color photography, they are very monochromatic. They are not real color. It's not real like reality color. It's more like referring to like the yellow ones, the orange ones. It's referring to artificial light. So those things are playing with that. That's the reason. And sometimes they are blue, and it refers more to daylight or very dark daylight. So that makes sense. But when I feel it's better in black and white, I change it. I don't know.
Some more questions? If not, I would like to thank you all, and we will still be here a while if you wanted to address other things. Thank you for your attention for this long hour within a fair where there's so many other things to see. And yeah, we hope in 2 weeks and a half we open our show in Venice, which will be on for 7 months till the very end of November. So it hopefully gives some people the chance to go and see it there in real. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.